The muted glow of the break room television was the only light in my world for those few seconds. I recognized the sleek conference stage the moment the camera panned in. Floor-to-ceiling glass windows revealing the city skyline at dusk, the hush of anticipation in the audience before my name surfaced on screen. But when the host announced Mason Vellin, my CEO, my mentor, as the visionary behind the LumaCharge network, I felt the air drain from my lungs. I stared at him, smug in his tailored suit, holding up the glossy prototype and schematics that I had poured every ounce of my soul into for the last 2 years. A wave of nausea rolled through me. My coffee mug, still half full, trembled in my hand. I watched the liquid slosh over the rim, and for a heartbeat, I didn't care that it would scald me. The world felt distant, like I was watching my own life through someone else's eyes. Mason clicked a button on his remote. The lights dimmed. A 3D rendering of the wireless charging grid danced across the screen. My design, down to the microscopic coil patterns I'd spent nights perfecting. He spoke with practiced confidence. LumaCharge will redefine how cities power their infrastructure, all thanks to our dedicated R&D efforts under my leadership. My throat tightened. A coworker nudged me gently, voice low. "Isn't that your brainchild?" My fist clenched around the mug. I managed only a hollow nod, but the betrayal cut deeper than any words he could speak. I remember every step I took leaving that room. The unsteady shuffle down the fluorescent-lit hallway, the click of my heels echoing like a death march. I passed posters of our company's Innovation First slogan, words that suddenly tasted like bile in my mouth. The faces of colleagues blurred as I stormed past cubicles, every smile and nod now a reminder that they too would applaud. The lie he told. I reached the elevator and mashed the button for the top floor. The doors parted, but I was already recoiling, as if I could escape through the walls. My heart pounded so loudly I thought it might burst. I couldn't tell whether it was grief, anger, or the dizzy realization that my entire career had been built on a foundation of broken promises. The elevator dinged. I stumbled off and sprinted down the last hallway to my office, my sanctuary, my battlefield. Papers scattered on my desk, prototypes half assembled, sticky notes with reminders I now couldn't bear to read. I sank into my chair, head in hands. When I finally lifted my eyes, I saw my whiteboard full of formulas and diagrams, the elegant architecture of LumaCharge drawn in painstaking detail. Every line was a testament to my sleepless nights and relentless drive. Every line was mine. Mason's voice crackled again from the break room speaker, thanking the R&D team, everybody but me. I snapped the speaker mic off the wall, the plastic rattling, as if silencing him would undo the theft. But I knew it wouldn't. He had already rewritten history. I pressed my palms to my temples, trying to will the world back into place. But nothing fit anymore. The elevator ding echoed in my skull. The hum of the AC felt like a mocking whisper. And in that suffocating moment, one thought crystallized sharper than regret or fear. I'm not going to let him get away with this. The ride home was a blur of red brake lights and honking horns. I didn't have the energy to navigate the streets. I just followed the taillights ahead, as if my car were on autopilot. When I finally crawled into my cramped apartment, I didn't bother turning on the overhead light. The darkness was a mercy. I sat on the edge of my bed, clothes still stiff from the elevator air, and tried to breathe. But the betrayal had lodged itself in my lungs, making each breath feel like I was inhaling shards of glass. My phone buzzed. One text from my best friend Jenna. "You okay? You left in a hurry." I tapped out a reply. "Not really." Then I set the phone face down and closed my eyes. Images assaulted me. Mason's smug grin, the applause, the anchor's praise. I saw the moment I'd handed him the printed white paper, watched him flip through pages, nodding approvingly. He'd said, "This is brilliant, Aria. We'll file this next week. Credit goes to you." I believed him. I trusted him. I admired him. Now I felt like a fool. Tears stung the back of my eyes. Shame pooled in my chest, heavier than any anger. Shame that I'd let myself be used. Shame that I'd given away my future for empty words. But beneath that shame, something darker burned. A coiled rage that refused to be silenced. How could he do this? I asked the empty room, voice cracking. He knew what this meant to me. He promised me recognition. I reached for my prototype helmet resting on my bedside table. The cool metal felt reassuring in my hands. My design, my hands. I traced the grooves and sensor ports with trembling fingers. The weight of its significance pressed on me. This helmet was the key to the LumaCharge ecosystem, the capstone of 2 years' work. And Mason paraded it as his own. I pressed my forehead against the helmet, the foam padding soft against my skin, and closed my eyes. Memories flooded back. The late nights at the lab, the thrill when the first coil glowed red with power. Jenna's high five when we hit a breakthrough. My heart ached for those moments, but more than that, it ached for what they meant. My identity as a creator, stolen in a single televised stroke. I sat up, slamming the helmet down. The cushion toppled. Off, rolling across the floor. I didn't flinch. My breathing steadied. Anger took shape in my mind, morphing into focus. I realized then that grief had its place, but it couldn't last. If I allowed myself to drown in sorrow, Mason would win twice. He'd steal my work and bury me in my own despair. I crept over to my desk, flicked on the lamp, and opened my laptop. The screen's glow was harsh in the dim room, but the files were there. Raw code, lab logs, email threads, my digital trail of creation. It was all evidence, waiting patiently for me to claim it. My fingers hovered above the keyboard, heart pounding with adrenaline. "This is more than a patent," I whispered to myself. "It's proof. Proof they can't ignore." I began to copy files onto a secure flash drive, one by one. Blueprint PDFs, simulations, time-stamped videos of live tests. My pulse raced. Each file, transferred, felt like reclaiming a piece of my soul. Outside, the city hummed with oblivious life. Cars, distant sirens, murmurs from neighbors returning home. When the last file copied, I leaned back and exhaled. The flash drive glowed its small LED as if winking at me. In that moment, I understood the magnitude of my next steps. I was alone in this fight. No suit, no PR team, no corporate lawyers. Just me, an unassuming systems engineer armed with raw proof and burning resolve. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Jenna. "Call me when you get a sec." I tapped ignore. This wasn't a moment for consolation. It was a turning point. I rose and paced the room, mind racing through possibilities. Public reveal, patent office, media leak, sabotage. The options felt dizzying. But I knew one thing for sure. I had to act swiftly before Mason solidified his claim. Each second he remained unchallenged, my leverage slipped away. My heart settled into a steady drum of determination. The betrayal still hurt. Every inch of my chest throbbed with it, but it was no longer paralyzing. Instead, it fueled me, sharpened my senses. I walked over to the window and peered at the city lights. My reflection stared back, a woman on the brink of war with her own boss. The street lamps painted shadows across my face, accentuating the lines of fatigue and rage. I cupped my hands around my mouth and whispered to the dark, "You took my work. You tried to break me, but I'm not done yet." For the first time since the broadcast, I smiled. It wasn't a gentle curve. It was a predator's grin. Hungry, precise, unyielding. The question loomed in the air. Where do I strike first? And with that question burning, I knew the journey had begun. I barely slept that night. The city's neon glow seeped through my curtains, painting my ceiling in alternating streaks of red and blue. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mason's face, smug and untouchable, while applause drowned out my own labored heartbeat. By dawn, I was hunched over my laptop again, a fresh black coffee at my side. The screen displayed two windows, my digital evidence folder on the left and a blank document on the right. Above that blank page, I typed 3 words as a placeholder for my mission statement: expose, reclaim, destroy. My fingers hovered, but I didn't write anything yet. First, I needed a strategy. I sketched a flowchart on a fresh sheet of paper. Evidence collection, legal safe haven, public exposure, fail-safe activation, fallout management. Under each step, I jotted notes in my messiest scrawl. I needed irrefutable proof, a place to stash it so the company couldn't delete it, a way to let the world know what Mason had done, and an insurance policy, something that would trigger if the plan unraveled. Finally, I needed an exit strategy to protect myself from retaliation. I clicked open my email archives, sorted by date, and started flagging every thread that even mentioned patent or prototype. Each flagged email was a breadcrumb. There was the initial exchange where I pitched my design to Mason in January, the follow-up where he promised the internal filing, and the terse response when I asked for updates, his avoidance cloaked in corporate politeness. Next, I opened our file server. My hands shook slightly as I navigated to the R&D Stage 2 directory. Hundreds of gigabytes of simulation data, CAD files, performance logs. I began copying folders, every revision of the helmet prototype, every lab result, every time-stamped video from the test bench showing the coils powering up with that soft blue glow. The hardest files to gather were the emails between Mason and the in-house patent attorney. They resided on a restricted share. I knew I'd need to infiltrate his permissions. I paused, staring at my reflection in the dark monitor. Aria Lane, systems engineer by day, avenger by night. My heart thudded against my ribs. I can do this. First failsafe, encrypted backup to a cloud server outside corporate reach. I set up a burner account on a secure file hosting site, uploaded 100 gigabytes of data in staggered batches, and double encrypted each archive with a PGP key only I knew. If our servers were wiped, my backup would still exist, untouchable. Second, failsafe, auto-release mechanism. I wrote a script in Python that would monitor my burner account's access logs. If someone accessed my profile more than twice in 48 hours, the script would automatically send the encrypted archives to a list of pre-selected journalists and patent offices. I tested the script locally, heart in my throat as it pinged. Me with dummy alerts. Then came the hardest part, building a legal sanctuary. I didn't have the funds to hire a top-tier lawyer, but I knew of a friend from my university days, Maya Delgado, now an IP attorney at a boutique firm in New York. She was fierce, meticulous, and idealistic. If anyone could defend me pro bono, or on a lean retainer, it was her. I drafted an email, careful to omit sensitive attachments, outlining my situation in broad strokes and promising to share the encrypted proof once she committed. Then I hit send. My stomach twisted. This was no harmless prank. It was war. The next morning, my inbox had one new message. From Maya. Tell me everything. I'm listening. Relief flooded me, but there was no time to celebrate. I needed more allies, people who knew Mason's tactics and could help me navigate corporate politics. I texted Jenna. Meet me at 7 p.m. at our old cafe, corner of 5th and Brook. Urgent. Jenna was my sounding board and voice of reason. Never one for drama, but always ready to rally. She answered almost instantly. I'll be there. Bring coffee. I'll bring my notebook. At 7:05, I slipped into the dimly lit cafe booth. The key, familiar scent of roasted beans and cinnamon rolls should have been comforting, but tonight the walls seemed closer. Jenna slid into the seat across from me, eyes bright with concern. "All right," she said, folding her arms. "You said urgent. Spill." I took a deep breath and laid it out. Mason's theft, the broadcast, my evidence, my fail-safes. Jenna's pen flew across her notebook, scribbling names and questions. When I finished, she tapped the page. 1. IT insider, Raj Patel. 2. PR whistleblower, Simone Hart. 3. Finance contact, Luis Ramos. I raised an eyebrow. "You know these people?" "Raj is in your company's IT department. He hates Mason's micromanagement." "Simone I met at a digital ethics panel. She specializes in corporate transparency. She's itching for a scandal." "Luis is a freelance financial journalist. He's got contacts in Silicon Valley and can make this story pop." Her confidence bolstered me. I shot off texts. One to Raj, requesting an after-hours meeting in the server room. Another to Simone, asking for a dinner meet. And one more to Luis, hinting at a potential story of major importance. While I waited for their replies, I set up a secure group chat using an encrypted messaging app. The chat was titled Project Lumalite. I added Maya once she replied with her PGP key fingerprint. Raj, Simone, and Luis followed. Within an hour, the group chat lit up with thumbs-up emojis and words of support. They didn't yet know the full details, but they all signaled they were in. That night, I met Maya over Zoom. Her face filled the screen, hawk-eyed and determined. "Send me the encrypted archives," she said. "If we file an emergency patent application today, we can put a provisional hold on Mason's claim, and I'll draft a cease and desist we can wave around if he tries any more public gigs." We agreed on a code phrase, Northern Lights, which I'd use to confirm when the archives were safe. I hit the send button and watched the progress bar creep forward. When it reached 100%, Maya nodded, giving me a virtual thumbs up. Relief washed over me. We had legal cover. Meanwhile, Raj offered to secure me temporary elevated access to the internal server, enough to snag those attorney emails. Simone promised. To leverage her media contacts if we got proof. Luis was already drafting pitch angles. The team was small, but lean and committed. That night, lying in bed, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Cautious optimism. The plan was no longer mine alone. I wasn't a lone wolf. I had a pack. Over the next 48 hours, everything moved at breakneck speed. Raj slipped me a USB drive in the deserted server room, the humming of hard drives like distant thunder. "You'll find the email thread here," he whispered, glancing at the security camera blinking in the corner. Drafted by the in-house counsel. Subject line, urgent, Luma charge IP. He marked it confidential. I thanked him and bolted for the stairs. My pulse raced as I slipped into my office and plugged the drive into my laptop. A single folder. Patent attorney correspondence. I opened it, hands trembling. The first email, dated February 10th, from patentattorneyofvellencorp.com to mason.vellencorp.com. Subject, urgent, Luma charge IP. Mr. Vellen, as per Ms. Lane's submission, I have drafted the provisional patent application for Luma Charge Network. The application is ready for your review before filing. Note: credit to Ms. Lane must be included in Section 2 of the specification. My breath caught. This was it. Mason's acknowledgement that the filing was mine to oversee. I scrolled for replies. There it was, 2 days later, from Mason, vellencorp.com to patentattorneyvellencorp.com. Subject, urgent, Luma charge IP I've reviewed and approved. Please file under Vellen Technologies as the inventorship. We'll handle the team credits internally. My heart thundered. He had willfully misattributed my invention. This email thread, with timestamps and directives, was the smoking gun I needed. I forwarded the critical emails to Maya with one line, "Northern Lights filing proof." Almost instantly, she replied, "Received. Filing provisional now. Preparing draft complaint." Simone texted a link to a recent exposé she wrote on corporate IP theft and offered to mention my case as soon as I was ready. Luis shared a draft. Headline, "Engineer versus CEO, How One Innovator Fought Back." Raj confirmed he had removed any lurking logs that might implicate me in unauthorized digs through the server. Clutching my coffee mug, cold now, I felt a surge of triumph. My plan wasn't just theory anymore, it was reality. Yet beneath the high, there was a flicker of fear. This evidence was explosive. Once unleashed, nothing would be the same. Mason would fight back with every resource at his disposal. He would call my actions theft, corporate espionage. He would call my credibility into question. But I had prepped for this. The provisional patent was in Maya's hands. The encrypted archives lay ready to release. The media contacts were primed. All that remained was the countdown to activation. The breakthrough had shifted everything. The question now was when to press the trigger. I closed my laptop, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Outside, dawn was breaking, painting the sky in pale gold. The world was waking up. Soon it would learn about Mason Vellen's betrayal. I rose, drawing in a steady breath. My reflection in the window mirrored a new resolve. The underdog had found her weapon. And in that moment, I knew. The war had truly begun. The CEO stole my credit, but he had never imagined the surprise I had waiting for him. I slid into Mason Vellen's corner office just after lunch. The late afternoon sun glinted off the glass walls, casting prismatic shards across his marble desk. He looked up, expression cool and amused. "Aria," he said, leaning back in his leather chair. "What can I do for you?" My pulse slammed against my ribs, but I forced my voice steady. "I think you know." He raised an eyebrow. "Do enlighten me?" I set a slim stack of printed emails and schematics on his desk. The top page bore the in-house counsel's header, "Urgent, LumaCharge IP." My breath caught as I watched him scan the subject line. "Those are confidential," Mason said lightly, flipping the pages without care. "How did you—" I cut him off. "You told the patent attorney to file it under Velen Technologies and strip my name from Section 2. I watched the color drain from his face. Just a fraction. "Enough." He chuckled, masking panic. "That was standard corporate procedure. Inventorship can be assigned to the company. You knew that." My heart thudded. "No. You promised me credit, then you lied." I laid down the email thread, line by line, his approval, his directive, the attorney's warnings. "You broke the law, and every ounce of trust." He snapped the top page toward me. "You have no idea how business works. You're a brilliant engineer, and a foolish girl who thinks she can play in the big leagues." I leaned forward, voice low but fierce. "I have an attorney on standby who's already filed a provisional patent under my name. I have encrypted backups on a secure server outside your reach, and I have media contacts ready to run the story in the next hour." They say betrayal doesn't come from enemies, it comes from the ones you trust. That truth hit me like a cold slap the moment I saw his face on the news, smiling as he presented my invention to the world. "Revolutionary wireless charging network, created under my direct leadership," his voice echoed from the TV in the break room. I froze mid-sip, the coffee scalding my lips, the ceramic mug trembling in my hand. The anchors applauded him like he was some tech god descending from Olympus. But I wasn't watching a visionary. I was watching a thief. My name is Aria Lane. I'm a systems engineer. And 3 months ago, I handed my prototype and white paper to my CEO, Mason Vellon, trusting his promise of internal patent filing and rollout. Said he'd make sure I got the credit. Said we were a team. I was a damn fool. Isn't that the guy you work under? A coworker asked, looking between me and the screen. My throat clenched. I managed a tight nod, heart hammering in my chest. As the broadcast continued, I watched Mason gesture to my schematics, ones only I could have designed. I recognized every line, every algorithm, every painstaking calculation I spent 2 years perfecting in sleepless nights and underpaid overtime. He didn't just steal my work, he erased me from my own legacy. Outside, I ducked into a quiet corner of the hallway and pulled out my phone. At exactly 2:02 p.m., I tapped Activate. Every locked-down file I'd uploaded to the burner account sprang to life. Maya's confirmation pinged. Provisional filed, claim secured. Simone's alert. Going live with exposé in 5 minutes. Luis. Headline approved. Hitting. Press momentarily. And in the background, my auto-release script detected an unauthorized attempt to access my cloud profile. It triggered an automatic dispatch of all encrypted archives to a curated list of journalists, patent offices, and regulatory agencies. My heart raced as I watched the clock tick toward 2:05. I ducked into an empty conference room and hooked my laptop to the large screen. A live news feed rolled in. Major tech sites, financial blogs, local business channels, all flashing the headline, Engineer versus CEO, the hidden battle behind Lumacharge's rise. The anchor's voice cut through the room. Newly released documents reveal that CEO Mason Vellon knowingly misattributed the Lumacharge network patent, removing lead inventor Aria Lane's name. Industry analysts predict immediate fallout. Simultaneously, my phone buzzed with a cascade of notifications, tweets reshared thousands of times, LinkedIn posts going viral, industry forums ablaze with outrage. I watched Mason's public profile. Within minutes, comments poured in demanding board action, investor confidence plummeted, and the company's stock ticker began a sharp nosedive. I exhaled, tension rippling through me. This was the moment I'd built toward. The reveal, the catalyst, the reckoning. Down the hall, I heard distant shouts. Security guards spilled into the corridor, phones pressed to ears. I closed my laptop softly and stepped out into the chaos. A cluster of co-workers huddled around a monitor mounted in the lounge, eyes wide. I joined them silently. On screen, Mason appeared on the company's live webcast, pale, defensive, stammering through a statement. These allegations are unsubstantiated, fabricated. To harm Vellon Technologies. He glanced at a flunky off camera. Our legal team is investigating. A cascade of boos and jeers erupted from the employees as they realized the truth. A woman near me hissed, "He lied to us all." Another whispered, "She did it. She showed him." A slow smile curved my lips. The tension in my shoulders eased, but my eyes stayed sharp, watching Mason's empire crack. Investors on Twitter were already speculating about a board coup. Within hours, headlines would demand his resignation. I slipped through the crowd and found Mason's office. He was gripping the arms of his chair, eyes blazing with humiliation and fury. He looked up, mouth opening as if to speak, but no words. Came? I crossed the room and stood in front of him, the power reversed at last. His office, once a symbol of his control, now felt like a cage. "Do you have anything to say?" I asked softly. He inhaled, furious and exposed. "You'll regret this." I let the accusation hang. Then I turned on my heel and walked out, the sun glinting on the glass walls once more. Behind me, I heard him pound the desk, but I didn't look back. Outside, the city lights began their evening shimmer. My phone buzzed again. Maya. Complaint filed. We're ready for the next step. Jenna. I'm proud of you. Simone. Front page. In 3, Luis, exclusive deep dive tomorrow. I allowed myself a small, private smile, a predator's grin sharpened by justice. The climax had shattered the illusion of Mason's invincibility. The underdog had struck, and the world was watching. Yet, as the applause of news alerts echoed, in my ears I felt a subtle tremor of anticipation. This was victory, but not the end. Something inside me whispered, the true aftermath was yet to come. The morning after felt surreal. I woke to a flood of notifications, emails from patent offices confirming receipt of my provisional application, news alerts announcing Mason Vellen's forced resignation, and social media posts hailing me as a symbol of corporate justice. My phone buzzed so relentlessly that I set it on silent and lay back, letting the weight of it all settle against me. In the days that followed, Vellen Technologies' headquarters transformed. The familiar gray lobby had new signage. Interim. Leadership banners replaced the bright blue Vellen Corp logos. An emergency board meeting convened to address investor outrage. Whispers of lawsuits and settlements filled the hallways. The share price stabilized only after the board announced they would refile the LumaCharge patent under my name and compensate me generously for the misuse of my work. I visited the office one last time, stepping into the cavernous R&D wing. My prototype helmet sat where I'd left it, now polished and integrated into the company's demonstration display, bearing a brand new plaque, invented by Aria Lane. I ran my fingers across its smooth metal surface, feeling the faint hum of embedded coils. It was the same device I'd built, but now it carried my name. Justice, finally tangible, rested in my palm. Maya joined me at the display, her trademark half-smile in place. "Congratulations," she said softly. "You did this." I exhaled, tension ebbing from my shoulders. We did this. I glanced. Around the lab points to the whiteboard still covered in my flowcharts and diagrams. "I'll archive this here and take the rest home." She nodded. "They'll want you to give interviews, talk about your vision. Your story sparked a movement." My chest tightened. The spotlight that once felt like a death sentence now felt like a bridge to something new. Opportunity, perhaps. Or a trap. I shook off the thought. Today, I would let myself savor the victory. That evening, I walked along the waterfront, the city's lights dancing on the dark water. The steady slap of waves against the pier felt grounding, a rhythm steady and sure. I cradled a cup of tea, in my gloved hands, drawing warmth from the steam. I thought back to the moment I first pitched LumaCharge to Mason, eyes bright with hope, heart pounding with possibility. Since then, I'd been betrayed, hunted by doubt, and driven to the edge of exhaustion. I'd cobbled together a ragtag alliance, rewritten corporate rules in my favor, and stared down a man who believed he was untouchable. What had I lost? Sleep, for one. Friendships strained by secrecy and shadow meetings. Innocence, the naive trust I once offered. I'd sacrificed comfort and safety, traded my quiet life for a battlefield. I recognized I'd changed, no longer just an engineer crunching numbers, but a strategist capable of outmaneuvering some of the sharpest minds in Silicon Valley. What had I gained? Ownership of my destiny, first and foremost. My name etched into my work. A newfound confidence in my voice, echoing through boardrooms and newsrooms. Allies who believed in me, not out of pity, but out of conviction. And perhaps most importantly, a sense of purpose that extended beyond LumaCharge, an understanding that sometimes you must fight to protect what you create, and in doing so, become something stronger. I lifted my gaze to the skyline. Each illuminated window was a story, a passion, a dream in progress. Mine felt both secure and fragile, like the dragonfly wings of dawn, but I brimmed with resolve. I had weathered the storm. Now it was time to chart the uncharted. Back in my apartment, I settled at my desk, whiteboard to the left, the prototype helmet to the right. On the desk lay a sleek tablet, my next project. LumaCharge was only the beginning. I'd filed preliminary sketches for a home energy module. That paired with the urban grid, aiming to decentralize power and lower emissions. This wasn't just innovation. It was justice for communities underserved by traditional utilities. As I powered up the tablet, a new email pinged from Simone Hart. Major media outlets requesting interviews. Also, big investor interest in your next concept. Let me know. When you're ready, I smiled, fingertips poised above the screen. The world was watching, doors were opening, but with opportunity came risk. New partnerships that might demand favors, fresh skepticism from critics, and the constant hum of corporate vultures circling promising ideas. I tapped back. Let's schedule interviews next week. I'm reviewing partnerships now. Please send details. I locked eyes with my reflection in the dark tablet screen, my silhouette framed by soft lamplight. The betrayal that once threatened to define me had become the crucible that forged me. I'd reclaimed my invention, but more importantly, I'd reclaimed myself. As I leaned back, the city beyond my window pulsed with life. Somewhere out there, Mason Vellon was rebuilding his reputation, or watching his empire crumble. But my future was unwritten, a blank schematic waiting for breakthroughs. I exhaled, excitement and calm in equal measure. The dawn of a new project. A new challenge loomed just beyond the horizon, and I, Aria Lane, was ready. The chapter closed on one victory and opened on 1,000 untold possibilities. The world had seen my power. Now it would see how far I could take it.